Good afternoon, chat. How are we doing today? Well, welcome back. It is Monday, and we are back for our public open hosted event, broadcasted and live streamed across Twitch, YouTube, and TikTok. So this is the third installment of the public open, and today we are out in Spa. Currently evening. You can see the sun is just setting over the west side of the circuit. So something a little bit different for the drivers today. We have about 13, just coming below 14 minutes of practice to do before we jump into today's qualifying session. It's going to be an open qualifying session. We do have around 45 cars signed up for this session. Yeah, open quality 15 minutes, and then we'll be jumping into a 1 hour race. And this race is going to be a race of pretty much getting everything ready and set up for people to try out different cars and the sort of race strategy for different stints for IMSA coming up this week. Another thing you've got to bear in mind is we also have Spa 24 coming up in July as well, which is something that a lot of drivers look forward to every single year on the iRacing special events calendar. So we are just following along with Alan Albert's progress at the moment. One of four drivers into the 215s here tonight. How are we doing, Finley? Welcome to the chat, mate. Yep, quite a few new drivers. We have the usuals as well. Some friendly names that we've seen here many times before. We've got Ethan Turner, Scott Curry, Karsten Havdal. Karsten Havdal having won the Alton Park GT that we ran 2 weeks ago. Did an incredible job to come home P2 as well at Spa last week. Interested to see how he does. Sorry, at Watkins Glen it was 2 weeks ago where he won the race. We also did a hosted broadcasted event for Apex Bandit as well over the last, I think it was last Wednesday now. Karsten Havdal winning that race. So just see Nico Badarama getting the black flag there. Again, another great driver who has been performing well over the last couple of weeks throughout these open sessions. Charlie O'Kane. Again, another driver that's attended many of the events that we've been running, and is definitely going to be interested in the new league that we have coming up, along with the new website. How are we doing, Super Pals? This is Spa, and this is the GT3 class. Currently in open practice at the moment. 10 minutes of this session remaining before we jump into quali. How are we doing, Anis? Welcome in. Yep, new website is on the go. Hopefully going to be releasing that over the next couple of days. We'll be able to track all of the progress from all of the drivers over there in real time as well. So we do just see McLaren losing the rear end over the top of Radion, sending that into the wall. Not ideal for him. Ken Bakken from the Ken Bakken route. There's about 5 of his drivers from Norway that are joining us today. How can you join the league? The league registration will be on the website. I'm currently working on a new version of the website. But Jay, if you're not in the Discord already, feel free to come and join the Discord. Link is in the bio of whichever stream platform you're watching on. You can come and join over there, and we'll also be posting whenever we do these hosted events if you are wanting to take part. But like I say, there's still plenty of time to join. It's an open session. You've got 9 minutes of this one remaining. Sam Baird as well, very quick driver, was here last week. Duncan Andrews, back here again in the Ferrari 296, running the Barbie Ferrari livery. A couple of the drivers that are already in the Discord at the moment, just sort of hanging out in the pits at the moment. Ethan Turner had an incredible comeback on Wednesday's session with Apex Bandit. Dropped down to P20 in the first 2 laps, and brought it back to finish in P4. A lot of the quicker drivers today opting to drive the Ferrari 296 GT3. I think that is what we have seen for the last sort of 3 weeks now. Sort of a combination of Ferrari 296s and the McLaren 720S.
I was on a cooker too.
Race is at 9 o'clock, yes, Jay. So currently 33 lap times on the board. 5 drivers now into the 215s, with Lucas Bowden setting the fastest lap time so far with a 2:15.5. Just following the progress of Ethan Turner in the Ferrari 296, seeing if he is able to go quicker. Currently a little bit quicker up on his previous lap at the moment. Anyone that's driven Spa before knows Spa is quite a chaotic race, especially with a large quantity of drivers. Hopefully we'll get through the first lap without any incidents. We do have a minimum driver rating at the moment of 1200 in order to qualify for this lobby. That will be going up as we progress through the weeks of the open practice as well. These sessions are really about finding drivers that are consistent, quick, respectful, and also willing to take part in a 6 to 12 week long league. So Ethan Turner, he's going quicker, but he's kind of behind a little bit of traffic as we come through Blanchimont here. I don't think this Porsche is really going to give him the space or the room or even the respect to change my mind. Maybe he does. So I compromised his exit. I think that might have just been an off track there as he goes slightly wide out of the back end of the bus stop chicane. You might also notice, anyone that's watching the stream, that the camera positions that it should have been, but changed that up. Let's get that on the Remo broadcast. So I've been working hard to set up these cameras so we sort of feel like we're actually at Spa. So I've been playing around with over the last couple of days. So we do have obviously the crane cam at the moment, which is all the way back down at the com, looking down the Kemmel Straight. very much more sort of trackside cameras as well, gives you guys a better angle of what you see during the racing. Did I watch the Spa 24 this weekend? I caught the first sort of 3
Sorry,
hours and I sort of left it at that. I was incredibly busy this weekend. So 4 minutes of open practice left. Fastest time on the board at the moment. Currently Lucas Bowden with a 2:15.542. It's a Porsche 911 GT3R just spinning out the backside there of Le Fan. Can you guys just double check with me that the volume and everything is okay on stream? And everything is loud enough. Awesome. How are we doing, Jens? Welcome in. How are you recovering? Would I be interested in going to 6 hours of Silverstone next year? 100% I would be interested in the 6 hour of Spa. So we are coming up to the end of practice. I think it's about time that we had a quick chat with the drivers and just make sure everybody is aware of the rules, the rule sets, penalties and all that malarkey that's going to be probably inevitable during this race. The sport always turns out to be with this many drivers on the grid. But 2.5 minutes to go, so we'll have a quick a quick chat and check in with the drivers. Good evening, everyone. How are we doing? First of all, welcome into the Remo Public Open for Spa in preparation for next week's IMSA races and also in preparation, hopefully, for the Spa 24 that's coming up in July. Yeah, big welcome in, guys. Just want to say that this session is going to be broadcasted, or is currently being broadcasted, and hosted over on the Refined Motorsport social channels, so over on Twitch, YouTube, and TikTok. You're more than welcome to tune in over there. We'll also be doing our best to steward this race as well, so I will be trying to issue safety cars and black flags and drive-throughs and all that good stuff as we progress through the race, depending on what I see and what I manage to sort of capture, but I'll be trying to review things as and when as well. If there is a safety car, if we do any waved traffic, then stay on the right hand side of the track, allow the lapping traffic to pass on the left hand side for those, but again I'll let you know how that works as we get to it. There's unlimited fast repairs as well, so if you do need to pit for repair, it's not the end of your race. You can jump into the pits, get a fast repair, come back out behind the safety car and be waved back through to join the back of the grid. So that doesn't necessarily mean that your race is over. What I do want to say is there's a lot of drivers on today's session as well. I'm going to be looking out for people causing chaos during the safety car pace car lap. Anyone that's causing issues will be disqualified from the race during that phase. Try and keep respectful of other drivers as well. Respect their space. Let's not all sort of bunch up behind a safety car. Let's wait until green flag is about to start before you start bunching up. Otherwise things just get absolutely chaotic. But yeah, enjoy the session, guys. Be sure to come and join the Discord as well. Discord link is in the session description of this event. And you'll also find that over on the Twitch, YouTube and TikTok channels as well. Enjoy the event, guys, and let's try to keep it clean. I'm going to assume that you guys could hear that, because that would have been a bit annoying me talking to myself for about 2 minutes straight. I appreciate that. Cheers, guys. Cool. So we are going to jump into qualifying now. 15 minutes of open qualifying session. Gives them about 4, maybe 5 laps, depending on how early these guys get out of the pits. As we already have our first drivers coming out of the pits. As we're on board with some of the Nitros at the moment. This is already an incident at the top of Radion. I'd like to know why my session name isn't showing up. Let's just give that a quick check whilst we are waiting for these drivers to get on the track. Hoping that allows me to bring this up. It doesn't seem to want to be, but just leave it looking like that for now. Welcome Charlie, just sharing the live. So yeah, a couple of drivers and notable drivers to keep an eye on during this session, and we will be throughout the race as well. First being Ken Backen, running the McLaren 720S once again. Currently streaming over on TikTok as well, if you'd like to see it from his point of view. We've got Karsten Habdal, who's been doing extremely well for the last couple of weeks. Finished P1, P2 in the last 2 events, so we'll see how he does here at Spa, driving a Ferrari 296. The ever-growing and ever-popular George Ward in the Ferrari 296 as well. And if it's one to go watch his streaming over at Apex Bandit 17, over on Twitch and TikTok. And popular Roban 51 car livery, driving number 7 for today. Duncan Andrews running the Barbie Ferrari. Unfortunately, we've not been able to follow much of his progress over the last couple of weeks. He has been here, he has been racing. The problem we've had is his connection hasn't been fantastic, meaning that our tracking cameras here at the trackside around the circuit have been unable to track his car, making the stream a little bit disappointing, but all plugged in with his Ethernet cable now, so hopefully things will be much better from a streaming perspective. Being able to watch the onboards from Duncan Andrews. So we're still waiting for those first lap times to jump up and onto the board. A couple of people already on their laps. Already 5 minutes into the session and no times on the board, so let's keep an eye on this. So just one more thing to add, if you want me to review any incidents, if you think something should be investigated, then if you give me a shout down the mic for the driver's name that you want me to investigate, I should be able to have a look at that. If you also shout your name as well, because I don't see those pop up on my screen. So we have our first official lap time on the board. Scott Curry, already one of our top runners. He's a 2K driver in the Ferrari 296. Just dropped a 216.2 onto the board. I will say one thing, that track temperatures are dropping as we head on into this evening event at the moment. Currently have a track temperature and air temperature of 19 degrees. Relatively high humidity. Coming up to the 9 PM mark, this race will start, so it's going to be a sunset event for an hour. That's right, Investigator Connor is here. As we've seen a few more times come on to the board, Albert with a 215.8 in the Corvette Z06. So yeah, feel free to come and say hi in chat if you have not already. Feel free to come and drop me a follow over on the Purple channel as well. That's what I'm looking to grow at the moment. Spent a lot of time on TikTok. Really good format for when we're actually doing our driving streams, but for these broadcasts, a lot of the time and effort goes into the Twitch broadcasts for these. So come and drop me a follow over there. So Alan Albert 3 tenths slower this lap, but I'll tell you who is going quicker. We do have a couple of drivers looking to improve their lap times. We've got Duncan Andrews, currently 2 tenths up on his previous, 218.5, which would put him still P11 currently, but nevertheless going quicker. George Ward putting himself onto the timings now, 218.5. Ever so slightly quicker than Duncan Andrews there by a couple of hundredths. Kathleen Havdal, mentioned this before, fantastic driver, really good race, really understands the way that these races and formats play out. Really good at finding the balance between fuel saving, getting the most out of this car, finding that perfect strategy. I think that's definitely paid off for him over the last couple of weeks. Ethan Turner still yet to set a lap time. As we watch him on believed to be his outlap. So it just runs a little bit over the gravel though. And Ethan Turner, 3.5k driver. Spends a lot of his time driving GTPs, so GT3's not feeling that it is his strongest class of car. As well, I believe we've just seen George line off into the barrier there. I'm not really sure what happened here. Comes around the barrier and just... okay, does get tagged. I'm not sure. It's Sona Demetrius that's just tagged him. Ethan Turner looking to looks like he's really struggling at the moment with this car. Getting a few off tracks, losing the rear end there as well to Lecon. Sorry, La Source. Let's get the corners mixed up here. Having an absolute sneezing fit at the moment. How are we doing? How are we doing, Jules? This is currently the Remo Public Open for Iracing at the moment. We are 4 minutes left in quali. Shortly going to be jumping into the 1 hour race. More than welcome to join in on these sessions. We run them every Monday, 8 PM in UK time. 1 PM race start. Feel free to come and join the Discord. Discord link is in the bio of my TikTok. So it's coming up into the final few minutes of quali. Currently have about half the grid that have set lap times at the moment. We've got about 50 drivers in today's session, so it could be absolute chaos. Hopefully things run fairly smoothly, but if we take a look at some of our regular drivers at the moment, we'll jump on board with Karsten Havdal, currently set to 16.5 in P7 at the moment. We also have Nico Balderrama in P15, 2:16.961. Charlie O'Kane had some unfortunate incidents during the Alton Park session that we did last week. Hoping to do or perform a little bit better on today's session, currently 2:18.2. George Ward, Apex Bandit 17. Massive help in getting these events organised as well. We're down in P29 after being railed off the track during qualifying. Opting for the Ferrari 296 today rather than the Corvette. Was running the Corvette out at Alton Park last week. Really struggling with the car. Just losing the rear end, losing the front end. I think it just goes down to lack of practice, lack of time in the car. Kind of chose a new car, didn't really put much practice into it, and sent it racing, and unfortunately it didn't pay off for him. Thanks to the follow Jules, welcome in. So we're approaching the last minute of the session. A few drivers around the other end of the track that we're seeing at the moment. That found a little bit of space. There's a lot of drivers sort of coming towards through Blanchimont at the moment that are all kind of tight and packed, so whether they're using each other as draft or they're just trying to find that space on the circuit. As George Ward goes slightly faster at 2:18 flat. But there is your front runner with a 2:15.4. Lucas Schneckenberger is a driver that is joining us for the first time today. And that is the final few seconds of qualifying. Always tough to get lap times in an open qualifying session. It's one of those where we sort of struggle with finding that space on track, finding that room to put in a lap. And not only when you do, it's trying to avoid all of the incidents that happen around the lap whilst you're on a fast lap. But yeah, Lucas Schneckenberger with a 2:15.4, closely behind, 2 tenths behind Alan Albert with a 2:15.6. Brandon Hung 2:15.695, so very close between P2 and P3 there. Definitely going to be a busier session today than usual.
What was that?
As I believe that was sounded like Ken Backen on the radio there. So we do have a 3-minute cooldown just while the drivers look to put on their setups for this IMSA regulation setup. So we do have limited fuel
Marcus
for this.
Binner, why did he do that?
Just trying to have a look at Brandon Hung, looking for the incident with Marcus Binner here. Just trying to observe what caused all this hassle. I mean, Ken was parked on the racing line there, unfortunately. So I have just reviewed incident into turn 1 after the checkered flag between Ken Backen and Marcus Binner. I'm just gonna no action required on this one. I think Ken was parked on the racing line. Equally, come on Marcus, you should have seen that coming. If that was before the checkered flag, then that would have probably been a very different outcome, by the way. Yeah, let's try and keep things clean on the short pace car lap. Any incidents, just shout them up, and I'll review them after things get underway under green flags. So currently waiting for the drivers to line up on the grid. Currently lining up around the back hand side of Puon as we do a half formation lap. I want to say a big thank you to Co following the stream. Welcome in. Thanks for sharing the live as well. Thanks as well, Sam, for sharing the live. Alan Albert, welcome into the Purple Channel. How are we doing, mate? Congratulations on P2. Let's see how that runs for you. I'm currently not sure why the timing tower isn't showing up. There we go, there it is. So yes, this is a 7.23 kilometer track, 4.02 miles. There is 15 corners to the right and 7 to the left. As the pace car starts to pull away, all the drivers that are gridding have gridded for today's session, keeping an eye on what is going on at the beginning of this race. Now, we'll obviously do my best to review incidents a little bit later on and try and issue penalties and things where needed for that. Very hard to sort of keep track of 50 cars on the grid, so just keeping an eye on what things are happening, what cars are out of shape, but might have to revisit some things. I do want to say a massive thank you to Dexter Banks Gaming for subscribing over on the YouTube channel as well. So yes, currently P1 Lucas Schneckenberger, P2 Albert, P3 Branton Hung, P4 Stephen David, P5 Marcus Binner, P6 Scott Curry, P7 Liam Lancaster, P8 Karsten Havdal, again fantastic job for him to put that into the top 10. P9 we have Sana Demetrius, and P10 we have Isaac Perales, and we will be keeping an eye on everything that is going on throughout the rest of the race, as well as we do just look at the leader in the McLaren 720S, Lucas Schneckenberger. It's up to him where he goes. This is the Remo Public Open at Spa. Safety car has gone into the pits. All eyes to Lucas as to when he goes. He does manage to get the jump. Lucas already massive gap over P2 as we come down into turn 1. Things looking fairly tidy so far, even towards the back, not seeing anything happen as it's going very slow through the back there of La Source as we come now into Eau Rouge and over the top of Radion. Just keeping an eye on what is going on and making sure that we don't have any crazy incidents. As Scott Curry loses place, drops from P6 down into P7, all looking fairly clean so far as they are 3 wide. Scott Curry and Isaac Perales coming into Lecom. Fortunately, a little spin there for a Ferrari. Scott Curry does manage to make that through. Just trying to keep an eye on what else is going on. Everything seems to have been fairly clean so far. So just take a look at what happened all the way back here with Lucas, as he is a case of him just losing the rear end of that car, unfortunately. Lucas Schneckenberger already 1.3 seconds ahead of the rest of the pack. Alan Albert already finding that space as well. Things looking fairly clean so far. In terms of incidents, Nicholas Balderrama looks like he's had a potential incident. Let's try and jump on board with that and find out what happened to him. Just loses the rear end, manages to keep that out of the rest of the pack.
Well done, mate. Well done.
as there looks to have been another crash towards the back of the field. Just trying to keep an eye on what is going on during the session. Karsten Abdal looks to have had an incident. Liam Lancaster also looks to have had an incident here. I think he just sort of got caught up and involved in that already growing incident. But we will come back to these replays as the race sort of settles down a little bit. Interested to know where Simon qualified. We haven't followed much of Simon's progress today. I don't think he's actually racing. So Nicholas Balderrama will come in for a black flag. I'm not sure what's caused his black flag. Ethan Turner running currently in P14 after starting P33 on the grid, already up 19 places, chasing down David Michael Sarrow in the McLaren 720S. Looks like he's got the run up on him up as we come through and up around the top of Bonchmont. This is going to be a question of who's late on the brakes, Ferrari or McLaren, as we come into bus stop. Ethan looking to the left hand side, the out part of the circuit. Is he able to make that stick round the outside? Doesn't have the drive coming out of the corner. David Michael Sarrow able to hold that Ferrari 296 for another lap, as Duncan Andrews again making up 8 places at the start of this race. Started P24, is up into P16, just falling a little bit behind now from Ken Backen, who was one of the big rivals for him down at Alton Park last week. Couple of drivers in the pits. Nico Balderrama in the pits looking to get that repair done. This was going to be a short pit stop time with those fast repairs. Sam Baird with what looks to be quite a bit of damage on the front end of his car. Was unable to see what happened to him. We'll try and pick that up a little bit later into the race. We've had another crash from Christoph Berlin as well. Is this going to be one of your standard cold tyres coming out of the pits, losing the rear end jobbies? Or is he just driving slowly? Not really sure what's going on with him. We'll keep an eye on that for the rest of the race. So Alan Albert at the moment dropped down to P3, wasn't able to hold on to that P2 position. Currently being chased down by Stephen David in the Lamborghini Huracan GT3. Currently 0.4 seconds behind. Always found McLaren's not the sort of car that does well here. Not McLaren, sorry, the Lamborghini not the sort of car that... I say it's one of those cars that are kind of hard to build a setup for, because this track relies quite a lot on top speed. especially the what feels like an eternity travelling down the Kemmel Straight here. Is able to hold the gap there to Alan Albert as we come down into Le Con. It looks like Sam Baird also may have had a crash. And it looks like front wheel damage as crashes into the barrier as we come down into the bus stop chicane. So I'm assuming that's going to be Sam Baird telling me that he's in the chat here saying that we've got wheelbase disconnected. Not ideal. I think I've been through that enough times. Happened to be during the 6 hours of Daytona. I was driving GTP. Absolutely sent it into a barrier. Wasn't a fun time. So I was hitting the Mustang there for getting the pit limit. I mean, it looked like that. So I was driving incredibly slowly. Charlie O'Kane doing much better than we were seeing at Alton Park. Alton Park proved incredibly difficult for him. Loses the rear end and got tagged, massive damage. It was pretty much a comeback drive for an entire hour, but looking a little bit more confident here, running P10 after starting P18 on the grid. So already made up 8 positions. As Lucas Schneckenberger goes fastest with a 2:15.6, as we do see a McLaren 720S off there in the background, has spun coming out the back end of the bus stop chicane. Manages to get that 180. Does Charlie O'Kane and Ethan Turner having a little bit of a tussle here. Have a few back markers. 50 minutes into the race. Charlie O'Kane looking to make a move on Adrian Valera in the BM. Got the Mustang going around the inside.
Connor, can you look at that bus stop incident for us?
We have a bus stop incident. Just looking for that on the replay. Let's have a quick look at what happened here again. Let's go down the inside. We have the space, and I think. I mean, I'm going to watch that again, but to me that looks like a racing incident. He was well established on the inside before the apex. There he is on the inside, Charlie and Mario, I'm going to put that down to a racing incident. The Mustang was fully established on the inside. Equally, you were fully established on the apex of the next corner, so I'm going to put that to wheel to wheel. We've all driven back on live. You guys can let me know if you think that was a fair decision there. Charlie okay now under attack from Scott Curry. And looks to go to the outside. Was unable to get the car stopped there, Charlie. We'll have to hopefully give that position back, which he does. And just drops in behind him. As the sun is setting here at Spa at the moment, current time is 9:20. Track conditions and track temperature are dropping. We are now seeing temperatures into the 19 degrees. And again, Charlie getting caught up in an incident. Charlie Kane, big damage, loses his front wing. I am going to just keep an eye on what we just had there. So Quinn Wouters, I believe that was. I do kind of want to watch that from a slightly different perspective. It looked to be Quinn Wouters. Sort of turning over and coming across the path there of Charlie O'Kane. Quinn Wouters with the black flag. Racing incident between Charlie O'Kane and Quinn Wouters. Quinn Wouters black flag, drive-through penalty for causing a collision. As Branton Hung running P2 now, goes fastest for 2:15.5.
Hey, yo, Connor, kick that bloke, please.
Who is that bloke? That doesn't help when there's a field of 50 drivers. Let's go talk to the gang in Discord, just find out. Was that you, George, on the radio? Yep, I'm on it. Leave it with me. Thank you. So, just trying to again find what is going on with these incidents. It's definitely a lot to look at. It looks like George has had a crash. Let's see if we can just take a look at what happened here. Definitely looks like that was the Mustang's fault. So apologies guys, I'm just having a look at some of these incidents that are happening on my other screen at the moment. Looks like he is already out of session. So things are quieting down a little bit. As we do just jump back on board with the leader now, running 2.2 seconds ahead of Branton Hung. Alan Albert, I think, desperately trying to wind up and make up for that position that he lost early on into the race. P3 would still be a solid finish. Considering these are mixed I-rating lobbies. Ethan Turner now up into P7, made up 26 places. Ethan Turner currently 26 places up from the start of this race, started P33. His most position gained so far during the race. Could go well in P12. Yeah, he sure is. Duncan now into P10 at the moment. As he does make a pass on both Ken Backen and Scott Curry. I need to filter off my incident list. There's so much going on. I think next week these are going to be privately hosted sessions, so password protected. Anybody that does want to join these sessions next week, password will be posted in the Discord. I think we need to start working a little harder to try and keep these sessions a little bit more controlled. Barbie livery is jokes. I mean, you can spot it a mile off, right? Scott Curry really looking to make a pass here on Duncan Andrews. Duncan Andrews did go a little bit defensive into the bus stop. Allows him to survive another lap, but that's Scott Curry quicker in a straight line. He was topping the speed charts towards the first part of this race. He's running slightly less rear wing. Looks like he's just fallen into the slipstream here now behind Duncan Andrews. Is he going to look for a pass as we come down into Lacombe? Scott Curry to the inside. Duncan giving him the respect there. And Scott Curry securing P10. Duncan Andrews falling back down to P11, but it might not be over yet. There's Duncan Andrews looking to go around the outside here. It's a challenging place to try and lay down grip as the track sort of falls away from you. And as we come down into Pouon, gap falling now down to half a second behind. A couple of people out of this race that I didn't expect to be out of the race. Nico Balderrama is currently running P19 after starting P15. Obviously had that incident early on into the race, unfortunately. Which does put him relatively far behind, almost a lap and a half behind. Under parking, getting all loose and squirrely coming into Launchmont. That's the thing with running these cars with low rear wing. Get a tremendous amount of speed on the straights, but as soon as you start hitting those faster corners, Rouge, Radion, Launchmont, that's where it can be quite a challenge to keep control over the rear end of that car. Also getting something flagging up on my board that Billy Pugh has had a crash. And again, it's another one of those high-speed corners. I know this all too well in the Porsche. Running sort of less than 9 rear wing here on the Porsche. Makes it quite a challenge to keep control of the rear end of that car. But we are coming into, or just finished the first third of the race, 37 minutes to go. Around 33-minute mark, we should be looking at our first series of pit stops. How are we doing, Moxie? Welcome in. So this is the fight for P2. It's Brandon Hung looking to get back past Alan Albert, who looked like he was able to gain that space. Really tight, close battle here for the P2 position. Brandon Hung, Alan Albert, and Stephen David all tied up in this battle for P2. As we do have our first driver into the pits, as Charlie O'Kane. Billy Pugh also jumping into the pits. The gap here between the front runners has spread out a little bit. Lucas Steckenberger is almost 7 seconds up the road. As we just take a look at what happened to George Ward here, who puts his wheels into the gravel, loses the rear end, and we can't see the extent of that damage until it comes back into frame. And for a collision of that sort, front end of the car doesn't look too bad. It's a little bit sort of crunched up on the front right hand side, but doesn't look like anything too major. Again, we don't know what's going on with his steering at the moment. Hopefully I'll be back racing fairly soonish. We did get the wheel arrive back today, but we still have more problems, unfortunately. So Duncan Andrews gets the free pass at the moment on Ken Bakken and Sona Demetrius, as they are in the pits. Duncan Andrews up into P9. He's going to have to really give it his all in order to make this overcut work here. And again, that's one thing that we don't see up here as sort of hosts for this, is we don't really see how much fuel saving that they are actually doing in order to sort of push the car as much as possible to the end. How are we doing, Thomas? This is the Remo Public Open iRacing session at the moment, mate. It's a 1 hour race, part of the Refined Motorsport leagues that are coming up, and the invitationals for them as well. So we're looking for drivers in here who are driving clean, respectful, racing hard as well, in order to be invited to the league as well. So Alfredo Kanji comes out of the pits just ahead of Nico Balderrama. As we do just see a absolutely mega crash there from Alfredo Kanji. Loses it coming up the top of Ruddy on there. Let's just kind of see what happened. Just loses the rear end and just can't hold that together. Luckily doesn't take anybody else out in the process. Unfortunate from him. Nico Balderrama not looking to be his race today. Started P15, is currently running down in P17 after the incident early on.
Somebody really just swapped the whip?
So top 3 runners currently still looking to pit. P1, 2 and 3 yet to make their first pit stop. It's Duncan Andrews into the pits now alongside Scott Curry. This is definitely going to be one that we want to see as they come out. So Simon Demetrius does get the move done in the pits. Duncan Andrews off a second behind. Looks like they're staying where they were. Scott Curry 5 seconds up the road at the moment. Ethan Turner still yet to pit, started P33 in today's race and is currently running P3. Made up 30 positions today. Ethan Turner now into the pits. Pit stop should bring him out in around P8 or P9. Alan Albert opting to take tyres on this stop, which is going to cost him. So I think we've established that we don't need tyres for a 1 hour race. Unless you are absolutely abusing them. So a lot of drivers now making their pit stops. Come back and into the pits. So Branton Hung at the moment 5 seconds behind the leader. Leader is still yet to pit. So could this be a change of position for the leader of the race?
Ethan, I'll give it to you on the main straight after bus stop.
as we are watching a battle here between Ethan Turner and David Michael Sarro. Ethan Turner really eager to get past here. Flash of the lights as we come down into turn 1. Ethan Turner to the inside. They're going to go too wide through the bottom of Eau Rouge. Ethan Turner managed to get that done before they get there. That's always ideal, but this does give David Michael Sarro the slipstream up the Campbell Straight. David Michael Sarro to the outside. Ethan Turner goes to the outside to defend. Not a lot in that McLaren to try and make a move here. And if he doesn't look to try and make a move soon, I think Ethan Turner will just drive away from this one. As we look at David Smith and Charlie O'Kane. Charlie O'Kane has been all over the back of David Smith for the last 2.5 laps. Still yet to try to go for the overtake or make a pass. He does show himself in the right hand side mirror of Davey Smith's McLaren 720S. Chooses to back out. So we also have Karsten Havdal and Ken Bakken, 2 drivers from Norway. Karsten Havdal, the quicker driver here, able to start creating that gap. Charlie O'Kane into the gravel, kicking up some dust, wants to be on that power as early as possible to help him stay behind 720S. Davey Smith, don't think he has the distance behind to make a lunge here into the bus stop. Late on the brakes, both of them going really deep into the chicane. This is one of your closest battles on the track at the moment. Seems to be a battle going on for P6, P7. We also have a battle going on for P8, P9, and also P10 and P11. So our top 10 drivers have all made their first pit stop. We've seen from the previous events, it's all about whether during the second stint of this race it's about fuel strategy or about pace. If you can save the extra 2 or 3 litres of fuel that you need to get to the end of this race, it stops you pitting on the last lap. Definitely threw a mix into things last week at Old Park. Charlie O'Kane a lot closer on this lap. He's not going to do it through Blanchimont, but he looks to go down the outside, goes to the inside. Later on the brakes, Charlie O'Kane, fantastic on the brakes, manages to get that move done, does leave him a little bit of space, a little bit too much space, but manages to stick that around the outside. They do come together a little bit of wheel to wheel. As now Ken Backen looking to get into... sorry, Karsten Havdal looking to get into the mix here as well. Karsten Havdal came out of nowhere during this stint. David Smith now down into P10, lost 2 places over 2 corners. Karsten Havdal looks to be the quicker driver here, as they all move over to the right hand side of the track. No one wants to give up that inside line, as they're 2 wide coming into the calm Charlie O'Kane. Fortunately does lose out there, but looks like he has the better run. This also might give Dave Smith a little bit of an opportunity to jump back at him here. Karsten Havdal does go through. Goes incredibly wide into Pouon. Likely to be an off track there. Let's have a look at some of the incident points that we've got. Front runners all the way down, so P24 not too bad. I've seen a lot worse. We haven't had any retirements yet due to the 25 incident point cap. Top 10 drivers are not even halfway there. Karsten Havdal sort of just drives now off into the distance. As we look back at Ken Backer now under attack from Liam Lancaster in the Ferrari 296. Liam Lancaster goes to the outside later on the brakes and is able to get that car rotated into the bus stop chicane and well out of it quicker than Ken Backen by a long shot. Liam Lancaster looking extremely competitive in the slow, fast moving corners. I really want to see a zero safety car race today. I think it's going to be interesting to see how people manage their fuel coming into the final moments of the race. 20 minutes to go. So there goes. Yeah, Lancaster really flying in that Ferrari 296 with its best lap times 2:16.5. Started P7, is currently running down in P10. Obviously had that incident early on in the race, looking to make a bit of a redemption drive here. Last lap time's 2:16.9, so A lot quicker than the 3 cars ahead of him, Carson Hepdale, Charlie O'Kane and Davey Smith. Should be closing up into the back of those guys within the next 2 laps. Strathfield is currently 2,000 on the dot, 1,999 to be precise. I'll be interested to know what track you guys want to drive next week. Next week will be the last of the public open sessions, I think. Hopefully the website will be up and running by then. We can start taking registrations for the new league. If you haven't already, come and join the Discord. Discord link is in the bio for whichever social platform you're watching this on at the moment. Again, if you haven't already, give me a follow as well. You'll be notified when I go live. I'm live over on TikTok, Twitch and YouTube every Monday at 8:30. Practice sessions start at 8 o'clock for these broadcasted events. We do often do other streams as well, so we do a bit of myself driving, which I've not done or managed to do in quite some time due to not having a wheels. Liam Lancaster now all over the back of Davey Smith. Looks to be moving a lot slower here, as it's just allowing a car to lap himself. Charlie O'Kane already well off into the distance. Managed to build that gap over Dave Smith, now son of Demetrius, who has made that pass. Seems to be that standard midfield battle at the moment. We're going to be keeping an eye on who's going to be coming in for the second pit stops as we come into the final 10 minutes of the race. Who's going to be able to do the 1 stop? Who's going to be doing the 2 stop? Just looking at the back of Son of Demetrius' car, does look like he has a bit of right hand rear damage. So one of the back markers just peeling off out of the way. And that is, again, one of the challenges for the GT3s here at Spa, especially when it comes to a 24-hour event, is the lapped traffic. Everyone's running GT3 cars, you get about 60 cars on the grid, and traffic management becomes a huge part of running a successful 24-hour race. So Charlie O'Kane now into the pits for what looks to be his 3rd time. I'll be able to tell you when he comes back out. Scott Curry not having the best of races, started P6. Up down in P12. I think one thing that we have seen with Ethan Turner is his ability to basically make up a lot of overtakes, a lot of positions during these mini sprint races. I mean, it's clearly just tops everything that we've seen. If we just take a look at the positions gained here on the timing tower, 28 positions gained from P33. Again, it's coming out not one stop at the moment. Whether he'll be fuel saving or trying to sprint to the end of this, unsure. So Biddy Pugh, son of Demetrius, into the pits. Liam Lancaster, currently the only driver in the top 10 that has already made a second pit stop. Duncan Andrews looks to have made a little bit of a spin, a little bit of a mistake here coming into a bus stop. It was just a case of cutting corners by the looks of things. Yeah, but we're also getting up on the timing tower that he may have also crashed as well, so... Again, we've seen that so many times today. Can't really show the fast left-hander of Puan just losing the rear end, and again, it just comes down to being able to handle the rear wing of that car through the high-speed corners. Not ideal for him, unfortunately. There's Alan Albert able to make a position on Brandon Hung, who is just coming out of the pits. So Alan Albert up one position. Has Alan Albert been fuel saving during this race? Is he going to be able to make it to the end without the need for a stop? And if that is the case, is he going to be able to keep Brandon Hung behind for the final 8 minutes? So one of the things that I have been thinking about running here over at Refined Motorsport is running what I'm going to be calling the WTF series, and it's going to be a random combination of crazy rules for each race, and that could be a case of a 1x maximum for disqualification. It could be Formula 4's off-roading. It could be a number of weird and wacky things that we might see coming up. So if you do want to be part of those, there's going to be very limited slots for those. But if you do want to be part of those races, just ping me a message, come and join the Discord. Let's have a chat about it, because I think it's going to be an interesting series to kickstart. So Ken back in here in P10. Scott Curry looking to make up another place. Ken back and just goes to the inside here. I think he's going for that fuel saving strategy that we saw him do last week and pull off successfully. I think he was able to measure up about 3 places during the race at Alton Park just through fuel saving on that final stint. 6.5 minutes to go. Michael Sarro jumps into the pits. Running P6, let's see where he comes out. So a couple of these front runners now opting to make that second stop. So yeah, I think one of the big things that we're going to try and look to do going forwards is where we're expecting high turnout for these events, split into 2 races. Equally, obviously, this is a open public lobby at the moment that we've put up. I think the other option going forwards is to passive protect these sessions, try and reduce the numbers a little bit, hopefully reduce the chaos that happens at the beginning of these races. A lot of people want to do these. They do the 45 minutes of practice, they quali well, comes to the race, and drivers are getting sort of taken out before we even get into the race. Let's see what we have here. We've got George Ward leaving the pits. Coming up on my timing sheet that apparently he's driving slowly, but that could just be George. And as we do see a move from Alan Albert there, now up into P3. I'm going to have to watch that back. That looked a little bit sketchy as we came back to that camera, so nothing untoward there by the looks of things. Just trying to rewatch watch that move. It's a little bit, kind of want to just back that up a little bit just to see what happened here. Kind of hung to the inside, goes deep into the bus stop. And Albert able to make that stick, because we are getting another incident popping up on there's George Ward going off. And there's a penalty for George Ward being disqualified from this race, and I think that is unfortunately down to the incident point limit. George Ward, first of the drivers to hit that 25 incident point limit. Still P1 yet to make that second stop. Davey Smith and Scott Curry. Davey Smith is coming down into the column at the moment. Scott Curry again been plagued on the rear end of the McLaren 720Fs of David Smith for about 5 laps now. is unfortunate for George, unfortunately. 2 minutes remaining and gets TQ'd from the race for too many incident points. Well, that is a case of the setup choices that he's been making for these races. We saw this last week at Old Park as well, just losing the rear end on his own, and that is a sort of standard painting of running these professional setups, whether they come from P1 Docs, Coach Dave Academy, Go setups, VRS. A lot of them, they all sort of drop the rear wing quite a lot and becomes quite difficult to manage, especially when you're used to fixed setups. So I do believe Lucas Schneckenberger will be crossing the line for the white flag, which will be the final lap of the race. I suppose the other question is has he saved enough fuel to get this extra lap, or is he going to be coming in for a last lap splash and dash? Jesus, to stay out. Alan Albert now under attack from Ethan Turner. Ethan Turner incredibly quick in that Ferrari 296, goes to the outside as they come into bus stop, does manage to make that stick. Ethan Turner needing to jump into the pits, unable to save the fuel unfortunately. Having to make that second pit stop. Alan Albert choosing to stay out. Again, we don't know how much fuel these drivers have remaining. But as a sort of plus 2k driver, it's these sort of things that you are aware of after driving IMSA, so you're aware of your sort of fuel strategy. You know when you need to pit. A lot of these drivers know how to save fuel. Alstein Havdal also coming into the pits, unable to get that extra lap. It's definitely going to throw things around here as we come into the final moments of the race. Lucas Schneckenberger come through the last sector. There's a couple of drivers making up positions here in the midfield due to people pitting. But there is your leader from the start of this race, Lucas Schneckenberger, in the McLaren 720S. Has been running this race from the beginning, started in P1, comes across the line to also finish in first place. Great job of him, Lucas Schneckenberger, fastest lap time on the board at the moment for 2:15.4. But an absolute mega job. Branton hung 25 seconds behind the leader in the Ferrari 296 GT3. Able to come home, bring that into P2 after starting P3 on the grid. Made up position over Alan Albert, who finishes P3. Stephen David finishes P4. Ethan Turner now crossing the line. And finishes in P5. And Ethan Turner causing an absolute incident.
Lucas Neckenberger, that's some hella fuel saving.
So I want to say a big thank you to everybody for showing up and taking part in today's session. A little bit of a change on the weather today, so we had a awesome sunset into a late evening race. Congratulations to Lucas Schneckenberger finishing this race, starting P1, finishes P1. Branton Hung, after starting P3, made a place up at the early on into the race, finished in P2. Alan Albert, the only other driver in the top 5 to do a one-stop race as well, comes home and finishes P3 after starting P2 on the grid. Stephen David finishes P4, and Ethan Turner in P5. Ethan Turner also making up 28 places after starting 33rd on the grid today, so congratulations to you as well. I do want to say, like I say, thanks everyone for taking part in the race. Come and drop me a follow over on social media. It's Refined Motorsport. And you can also find the Discord link inside the session details for this live racing session as well. We will be doing another one of these next Monday at the same time as well. Session details will be posted in Discord. If you are interested in taking part, come and join over there as well. You'll also be alerted of some of the new leagues that are going to be opening up over the next couple of weeks as well. But thanks once again, guys, and hopefully I'll see you all again next week. Cheers, everyone. So that is it for today's event. Spa for the Remo Public Open next week. Not sure where we're at yet. Still need to have a look at the calendar, see where we want to go next. But yeah, 27 lap race here from evening into the sort of late evening. So nice sunset. Something different for the drivers. Lucas Schneckenberger finishes P1. Fastest lap time on the board, 2:15.4. Starts P1, finishes P1. Amazing drive from him. Managed to get by on a one-stop strategy as well. So to be able to do those lap times and fuel save, incredible job from him. Branton Hung started P3, finishes P2, 25 seconds off the leader. Alan Albert comes home to finish P3. Stephen David P4. Ethan Turner, after starting 33rd on the grid, 41st on the grid according to this, comes home and finished in P5. That's 36 places made up for him. David Michael Sarrow finishes in P6. David Smith finishes in P7. Karsten Havdal, don't think it was the race that he wanted today. Wanted probably a little bit of a better result as we've seen over the last couple of weeks. Comes home to finish P8. Charlie O'Kane, much better job than Alton Park last week. Comes home to finish P9, makes up 9 places since the start of this race. And Liam Lancaster, very fantastic sprint towards the end of the race there. Made up a lot of places. Bit of recovery drive. After starting P7, comes home just to finish in P10. Some notable mentions as well. So a couple of people that have been joining since we've been running these is Ken Backen, Nico Balderrama as well. Again, we see them over on social platforms a hell of a lot. Duncan Andrews as well, finally got his internet working, so we were able to follow some of his progress throughout today's race. Fortunately, he was sort of in no man's land for a lot of it. 16 seconds ahead, 8 seconds behind sort of thing. So it would have been nicer to capture a little bit of Duncan's race today. George Ward, unfortunately, after starting P29, did make up 8 positions to P21, but got disqualified from the race due to the number of incident points that he had. One and only driver to be disqualified. Sorry to call you out like that, George, but come on, dude, this is a track that you know well. And I think that is it. A couple of people didn't start the race, but yeah, big thank you to everyone who took part. If you are wanting to come and join, say, come join the Discord. There's a lot of new changes and things that are happening over there as well. Hitface1, cheers for the follow over on Purple, much appreciated. And I'm going to call it there for today's session. Yep, thanks everyone for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.